it going today, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Creators Podcast. I am one of two co-hosts, Tevin Brown, and we actually have a special guest co-host today, my producer, Lidia. Thank you for joining us. Also, BBLex, if you're reading the subtitles below us. Today, we have another special guest. She graduated St. John's College in Santa Fe. She also attended the London School of Economics, and she is a reporter for the Albuquerque Business First. We have Leah March. Leah, thank you for being on with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I guess kind of the first question that we always go into here is, how did kind of your journey start? Like, what is the origin story of Leah?
Oh, the origin story. Well, I was born in Omaha, Nebraska, moved to Boise, Idaho when I was 2 with my family.
Okay.
And then went to school at St. John's in Santa Fe. And while I was at St. John's, I tried a bunch of different things. They don't make you pick a major, which I love. So you really, it's like a charcuterie board of interesting topics. So I threw myself at everything, and then graduated and wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And I've always loved writing, but I always thought that to write meant you had to like starve and be unsheltered, because I just didn't see a way of making money at it. So I always just dismissed that as an option. But then I went to the Czech Republic right after I graduated, taught English for a year in a tiny Czech town. And when I came back, I admitted to myself that I'm a writer and that's what I love. And shortly thereafter, the job at Albuquerque Business First found me, and I've been writing and meeting fascinating people ever since.
Oh my goodness.
That's the nutshell. That was a big nutshell story.
So what type of stories do you like to cover the most?
I actually love covering economic stories. I love data, and I was thinking about this. I think creativity can come through in so many different ways, and for me, it really comes through when I'm writing about nuts and bolts, boring data. I love to figure out how to make it the most interesting, the most relevant to people that I can. And I also am loving covering how big federal shifts are impacting New Mexico. So that's my favorite thing. But I cover the film industry. That's really fun. I love to do that. I love that it's a vehicle through which I can explore a lot of different things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I love that. And goodness, there's so much to unpack in the beginning piece. I guess rewinding a bit, so you grew up in Idaho? So how did you find out about St. John's College?
Amazing question. I was working for a classical education association nonprofit. Okay. I was directing their partnerships and working on their magazine and selling advertising. And I knew I didn't want a traditional college education. I felt like I wanted something that wouldn't just give me a job, it would make me a wise person, or I could try to approach becoming a wise person. That's really what I wanted. And so St. John's, I sold them these ads, and then I read their ads, and they sold me a 4-year education. So that's how that happened. And it was kind of crazy. I decided I wanted to go 8 weeks before school started. Said, okay, if I get a scholarship, if I can find someone to rent my room, and if I can find a place to live in Santa Fe, I'll do it. And I got a really nice scholarship. Someone immediately came and took my room in Boise, and I got a great room at St. John's. So 8 weeks later, here I was. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I love that. And then kind of there's so much traveling in that, because you attended St. John's College, but then you also attended the London School of Economics, as well as you were teaching English in the Czech Republic. So what was kind of that stint like, of just kind of like traveling so much and seeing just so much of the world?
Yeah, well, I think like I mentioned before, I am a charcuterie board person. I love to try a little bit of everything. So yeah, London School of Economics was, I think, summer of 2021. I got a scholarship from the school to attend, which was amazing. And because no one was traveling during COVID, there were these amazing upgrades. Like I got to stay in this really nice apartment off of Westminster Bridge. It was wild. But yeah, so that was incredible. Learned so much there. And then, yeah, once I graduated St. John's, I just felt like I'd always wanted to travel Europe more. And I wanted a challenging experience, honestly. So, yeah, I applied for this grant through the U.S. State Department to go teach English for a year, and I was in a tiny town of, I think, 5,000 people. There were just a few foreigners there at all. The only person in my school that was a native English speaker. And I just learned so much. It was a really profound experience. And where I was in the part of Europe that was under communist rule until 1990. And so it was very interesting to just observe that type of culture that's been formed by that type of political regime for a long time, and the way that the market is has changed since then and everything. So yeah, I really learned a lot, and it was awesome. And it informs, like, the questions I learned to ask there really inform my writing today.
So can you tell us, like, about one story, like a significant story that you covered that you're just, like, you know, that really, like, that you really enjoyed, like, covering?
Oh, there's a lot of them. Well, one thing that was really interesting, I cover a lot of industry at the U.S.-Mexico border. So that includes the southern border of New Mexico, western Texas, and northern Mexico. And with all of the rhetoric about onshoring, like supply chains, New Mexico could potentially gain a lot from that. We're right on the border with Mexico. And so anyway, I wrote a story that, this is like something that a nerd would love, but it's like how El Paso got one big manufacturer, and because they were able to get that manufacturer, New Mexico got a lot of manufacturers as well. And so what's happening in Texas really impacts what's happening here. That was really interesting. Like I said, I've also really enjoyed covering the federal shifts. So one thing that also I've really enjoyed, the U.S. is trying to bolster energy security, and a lot of uranium comes from New Mexico. And so several mines were fast-tracked for uranium production on the federal list, but also these communities have suffered, like, contaminated aquifers and high cancer rates because of these mines that were shuttered at the end of the Cold War. So I really enjoy covering stories like that are nuanced, and there's a lot of different stakeholders, and, you know, a lot of, it requires, like, a deft touch.
Okay. Yeah, oh my goodness.
Yeah, sorry.
You're just like,
you asked, I had to answer.
No, it's the perfect answer. And it kind of really put into perspective, because obviously writing with Albuquerque Business First and being so focused on, like, the data and the numbers, it's also just, there's always so much more there than I guess even I realized, because I was just sitting here listening. Do you typically, working at Albuquerque Business First, are you typically kind of writing one thing at a time, or you kind of have your hands in a few different pieces?
I always have a pipeline that I'm working through, and it shifts depending on who calls me back, depending on what is important in the moment. I always am working on several stories at once.
Love that. And then I know you had already said like you kind of find most creativity and like what other people would call boring of like the data and numbers. When those moments happen and kind of like that creativity flows, do you have kind of a specific writing style with how you describe everything?
Yeah, I would definitely say that I do. It's something I'm always sharpening and working to improve, but I always try to make the most technical details like extremely lucid. Like a 5-year-old should be able to basically understand. That's an exaggeration, but that's the type of clarity that I aim for. I really, really strive for the clearest prose possible. I also love fun metaphors or unexpected metaphors. I think in the age of a bunch of AI writing, I like it to have a particular human flavor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. And I love that so perfectly, especially kind of bringing the AI into it and just kind of how that's been changing just so many industries. I love that you kind of add your own little human flavor to it. I think that's so important.
Yeah.
It is important to have that, you know, because now social media has just changed completely from the writers from before and now. And so it's good that you're, you know, starting this and adding to your stories.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel like, because I feel like even the world's so different from 2020 to now, and just as you're kind of sharpening your writing, I guess, how do you keep track of it all? And like, as like new things come in and you're still kind of handling the pipeline?
I'm a girl with a list, you know?
Yeah.
I love my list. I'm lost without my list. I have a paper planner. I need to write it down. That's one way that I keep track. And I'm always kind of keeping track of what clips I'm proudest of. And those continue to evolve as I improve.
I mean, it's a lot of research and a lot of work to write one little story, but they don't see the back end, how I can imagine how much hours of work you put of your time.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of interviewing sources and then checking public records to make sure that what the source is saying lines up with the public record. And then I also always try to think of caveats, like what could be true that I'm not seeing, or that, you know, the loudest voices like aren't emphasizing. So yeah, it is a lot of reading and research and talking to people. And I love all of those things. So I'm
You're
lucky.
good at it too. You're good at talking to people and, you know, networking, and yeah, you're amazing at that. That's how we met each other.
I love people. Like I actually really love people, and I love to hear what people are doing and the projects they're working on.
Yeah. I love that. And how did you guys meet? I also, for the audience as well as guiltily for myself.
So we met at the film festival, the New Mexico Film Festival.
Okay.
Yeah, it was interesting. We were just kind of like standing there next to each other, and we just started chatting, doing a little networking, and that's how I met this amazing woman right here, Leah. And then we just started talking about one thing led to another. She was traveling to Mexico City, and I was like, oh, I'm from Mexico City, and the conversation just led on, and here we are interviewing this wonderful journalist.
I love that. And were you traveling to Mexico City for the onshoring that you were talking about earlier, or was it something separate?
Just for fun.
Oh, just for fun.
Just to go see museums and eat amazing food and explore. It was amazing. Lydia set me up with the perfect itinerary. It was so good. Go to Lydia.
I know.
You want to know what to do.
If you want to go to Mexico City, you know, I'm the travel agent over here.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how we met each other.
I love that. I love that so much. And speaking kind of like how you love to talk to people and kind of like get to know people's stories as well as other people get to know yours, I had seen as well, Gabriella had written an article on you about your curiosity and kind of like how that ties into your work and like all of the things. Like how does kind of your curiosity play a factor into not only what you write, but what you find?
Yeah. I am just hungry to learn, and I love being surprised. I think that's my favorite part of life, is being surprised, and there's so many times when I'm learning new things that I find myself really surprised. And I think the other thing, and this kind of goes back to creativity, is like, creativity, I think, is just such an essential part of what it is to be a human being, as opposed to an animal, as opposed to a machine. And when you feed that, which I am constantly inspired by so many different, like, my curiosity feeds my creativity. Yeah, it's like the joy of life. So yeah, yeah, it's just an essential part of my process, is that I love learning new things and being exposed to things that are novel to me.
So tell us about a fun story you have written in the past where you're just like, this is a lot of fun to do.
Ooh, there's been a lot of fun ones. One that was really fun was announcing Young Guns 3 coming to New Mexico. Emilio Estevez came for the announcement. It was super fun. That was a fun one. But yeah, I mean, that's the one that comes to mind.
Yeah. That's a really cool interview.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I didn't get to interview him. But I was there when he was announcing it, and that was fun.
Oh, that was fun.
Yeah.
You were there, hey.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that so much. And kind of with Albuquerque and just New Mexico in general, because you had said that Albuquerque Business First had reached out to you regarding, were you already back in Albuquerque or like New Mexico at that point, or?
Yeah, so they didn't actually reach out to me. Like I said, I went through the journey of admitting that I was a writer.
Yeah.
And then I admitted that to a few other people. And then one of those people, one of my good friends from St. John's, Pierre, she the next day went to a mixer with the guy who hired me. He isn't at ABF anymore, but Will Martinez, who was then my boss, and he said he was looking for a reporter, and she said, well, I think I might have someone. And so I interviewed and applied and everything. But yeah, I was already back in New Mexico when that
I love that.
happened.
So I guess kind of tying into that question, is there kind of just a magic spark about New Mexico that made you want to come back?
Well, I love Santa Fe, and my husband and I have a house in Santa Fe that we were renting to some friends while we were gone. And we were just figuring out our lives, so it made sense as a place to come back. I wasn't sure that I wanted to come back, honestly. I didn't have a plan. I didn't know what I was doing. I wasn't sure. It actually felt kind of like a backtrack. But things work out.
Yeah.
And now, like, I'm so grateful to be here, to have been here, and I love it so much. And also, I have to say, I don't mean to brag to the Albuquerque people, but like summer in Santa Fe has been like 85 and cool and really, really nice. And I won't say much more, but it was really
the Albuquerque people.
It's been like delightful. It's been lovely there. So yeah, it's easy to love.
Yeah, I think it's interesting how like our journeys just lead us from one thing to the other without knowing where we're heading, you know, and you're like, I don't want to be a writer. I know I'm not going to admit it. But then you're just like, nope, there it goes. There's that one person that'll take you on to your journey, and here you are, you know, writing in New Mexico.
Yeah, and really happy about it. Even though maybe if I had heard that a year ago, I would like, not be.
Yeah,
I'd
Mexico.
Be like,
why would I want to go there?
And now, like, I'm loving it.
But Santa Fe is a really pretty, you know, place to live. So, and it's cooler, as you said, bragged about it.
Yeah.
Do you have any favorite spots in Santa Fe?
Oh, so many. Yeah, because I work remotely, I'm just like a little coffee shop barnacle, and I just sit in my comfy clothes with my iced beverage reporting. So yeah, I love Sky Coffee, great patio. Also, really good coffee, like really, really good coffee. I also love La Mama, also a great spot. For food, Joseph's is amazing.
Okay.
It's like New Mexican French, and it's in the cutest location. It's just so good. La Boca is really good. It's Spanish food.
Okay.
Yeah, all kinds of faves.
She's gonna make my itinerary. My next
I'll
trip
make
to
your
Santa Fe.
yeah.
I need to explore Santa Fe more because I've ventured south and like I've especially experienced a lot of Truth or Consequences, but I haven't experienced as much of Santa Fe yet. I've been there like a few times for work, but other than that.
Wait, so you spent a lot of time in Truth or Consequences?
Yeah,
What are you doing there?
I was working on the film that just came out, Eddington.
No way!
Yeah, so we were
so
we were
sick.
doing that, and they housed me down in Truth or Consequences, and it
She's
was
like, "What are you doing?" We all asked that question. We just didn't want to say it, Tevin.
I was asking myself every morning sometimes. I won't lie.
I feel like, yeah, that's a place where they say like the political spectrum is a U.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the U connects there.
Yeah.
It's such a fun, I love Truth or Consequences.
Yeah. No, I really found a lot of beauty there because it was like, it was a playground, I think, for especially when we were working on Eddington, because there was, I think, one of my favorite moments was driving a boom lift. For those that don't know, if they've ever driven past construction sites and there's like the giant lifts with like the long arm and like the little seat that are typically like gigantic. I was driving that up Main Street for like 20 minutes trying to get it in the right position. And there's like traffic all around me. Like we didn't close the road off, and it was fun, but it was also horrifying because that was my first time on like a real street. I'm licensed. I took the class. It's just it was a little tricky doing that.
Wow.
But yeah, thank you for the recommendations
cool.
for Santa Fe though. 'Cause
Any recommendations for Truth and Consequences?
Yeah.
Because you were out there.
What were some of my favorite spots? I really love the theater out there. It's very small and quaint. I know they had recently just done, before Eddington officially released, they had done like a premiere there. But it was like a beautiful theater, and like we were always driving past it. And I remember one day like stopping there, and they have a lot of cute little restaurants and like local spots that I love to go to, or I loved to go to when I was there.
You want to go back?
No, because it was fun doing it there, but it was also like I was there 5 days a week, and then I was like I was missing my fiance, and then I would want to go home, and so I'd like drive home every weekend and then drive back.
It's a long drive. Did you do the hot spring?
I did once.
Okay.
Some coworkers finally convinced me, and I actually that's the other spot I'll recommend. I really enjoyed the hot spring. Not a fan of the river aspect.
Okay.
I know people do the cold dunk when they go there to like make the hot spring nicer. I don't need the cold dunk to make the hot spring nice, and I was not a fan because they finally talked me into trying the river, and then like a giant fish like brushed past my leg as I was getting in, and I was like, I'm never doing that again.
Good thing you survived that.
Yeah, I know. I was horrified. I luckily didn't scream because I was with too many coworkers. But I guess kind of circling myself back, just kind of talking about the curiosity and the creativity of it all and everything. Do you ever feel like there's moments where you have to recenter yourself to keep yourself fresh? And then in those moments, what do you like to do?
Yeah, all the time. I think resting is a super important part of creating. And like, I sometimes have to close my computer screen and go touch grass. I mean, I have to do that like a lot. But then, I don't know, like I said, I'm really inspired by new things. So, I mean, that's why we went to Mexico City, is I just needed to like break free and do something unknown. So yeah, in extreme cases, that really helps. But more generally, I just like to, if there's a concert or if there's an event or something, sometimes just going, trying it out. Yeah, that helps. Or reading a new book or something like that.
Sounds
Yeah.
good. So what is next for you?
I do not know. It's a question I ask myself
Every day?
every day. Yeah, I really don't know. I think so far a lot of my journey has just been being open and available to whatever comes my way, and just saying yes to things. And I don't know what's gonna come next, but I'm really happy with where I am. I feel super grateful to have a job that I'm genuinely excited to wake up and go do every day. But yeah, I don't know what's going to be next.
I love that so much. And I want to thank you again for being on the show. I know we've still got a few more minutes, and I've got a couple more questions, but I wanted to thank you again because it's been amazing talking to you and kind of like just learning so much about not only kind of what you write about as well as just about you. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Before we round out, I do always love to ask, whether it's one sentence, a bullet point, a paragraph, what is some advice you have for any creatives in any industry that they're passionate about trying to get into it of any age?
I think, well, I don't know. The industry part is hard because the reality is that it isn't always, like, you can't always make a full industry out of it, which maybe that's some downer advice. But like for me, before I got this job, I knew that I was a writer. And even if that meant that I was doing a job that I wasn't passionate about so that I could write, that's fair too. Like that is, the same level of devotion to what you feel like you need to do as a creative. So yeah, I just think finding ways, like not making excuses for yourself to put off doing your craft and admitting that that's what you do and finding some way, like come hail or high water, to do it. I think that's what creatives need to do to feel satisfied. And at least for me, when I wasn't admitting that, when I was putting it off, like I was really anxious about where things would go for me. I was trying to carve another path that was one that I knew ultimately wasn't right. So yeah, I think having that honesty and that courage to say, this is what I am, and even if it means I have to be poor, or even if it means I have to work a job that I'm not passionate about so that I can do something that I am. I think that openness is really important.
Yeah. I love that so much.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's good advice.
I'm kind of curious what advice you guys have.
Oh, hey, we're interviewing you. Why did I offer to fill in for Simone? I could have just stayed back like I always do behind the camera. Campbell, listen to you, Tevin. It's your turn, and then I'll go.
I think my favorite advice always to give is the show must go on. And that doesn't always have to pertain to entertainment, but just anything in your life. It's always, the sun's always going to keep rising, and it's this is a very black reference, but there's this comedian named DC Youngfly, and he actually popped up on my Instagram today, and it's like always like one of my favorite quotes, that he's like such a funny, unserious dude, but it's like he's saying like such a serious thing that he's just making like a joke kind of with, where he says, no matter what, every day you gotta walk into that kitchen and the stove could not work, different pieces tiles could be falling out the roof, but you're still gonna have to cook. And at the end of the day, when someone steps out, people are gonna come with plates, and you're gonna have to feed them, and you're also gonna have to feed yourself, so keep cooking. And it was powerful to me, and he says it way better than I do. But just no matter what happens, kind of always gotta get back up and focus on tomorrow.
Love it. Amen.
Yeah. And for me, an advice is really just, life goes on every single day, and we have different different things that happen every day. But the most important is for you to follow a passion that you have and believe in yourself, and that there's always something that greater that comes with that. And if you know your direction and you continuously follow it, no matter what obstacles come in your life, it will come through somehow. There's something bigger than us that will always take you on that path. It's like a road and you're like going through rocks, but every single rock is always like something new that you learn, and then you just got to kick them off until you get to the paradise of wherever it is that your journey that you want to get to. That's the best advice that I can give.
Lydia, that was amazing.
Answer.
We gotta write that down.
But Leah, thank you so much for being on the show with us. Before we
Thank
go,
you.
is there anywhere that the audience, whether or not they want to follow you or your work, where they can find that online?
I'm on Instagram, but I have a private account. I am at Albuquerque Business First. If you want to hear the news, you gotta subscribe.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Maybe someday I'll take my Instagram off of private.
Maybe. You don't have to. I also enjoy it. I have two Instagrams. I've got like my business one and my personal one, so I fully get it.
Hey, you can always contact the creatives through our email, and then if you want any message for wonderful Leah, we can always forward that to her.
That'd be perfect.
Thank you so much, Leah, for being here with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so nice to meet both of you, and well, so good to see you again, but so good to meet you.
It was wonderful to meet you as well.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning into another episode of the Creators Podcast. I would like to thank our special guest co-host, our producer, Lydia.
Thank you.
And I am also your other co-host, as always, Tevin Brown. Simone, we miss you. We love you.
We really do.
I would like to thank so much our sponsors, including Lydia as well as Daniel, who's sitting behind the camera. I want to thank Studio 519 for letting us always film here and dealing with my funny antics and sometimes not funny antics. I would also like to thank Catharsis Media for letting us stream on their content now. You can catch us on channel 96 with Catharsis Media. You can also catch us with RM Entertainment on RME Free TV. You can get it on Apple, Android, Apple TV, and many other devices. And I would like to thank you guys, as always, especially our OGs on YouTube. Please, 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 always be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And please have a great night.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.